Good morning to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook for Saturday, September 27th, 2025. And on today's tropical weather outlook, we are officially going over Tropical Depression 9, which is formed this morning from PTC 9, which was designated yesterday afternoon. And along with the designation of Tropical Depression 9, um, tropical storm watches have been issued for portions of the Florida coast. I'm going to go over for where and all of the impacts that you need to be aware of and the latest in general on Tropical Depression 9. All in today's video and this morning's video because, as I said yesterday, we're probably going to be doing multiple updates per day for the next few days here on this system. So let's get started today with the latest from the National Hurricane Center homepage. As it pretty much always starts off, we have Hurricane Humberto and we have Tropical Depression 9. So we now have officially, once again, two tropical cyclones active at once. And I'm going to get to Humberto in just a little bit because, boy, is this storm becoming more impressive by the hour, and the serious shot that this might indeed intensify into a Category 5 hurricane. I think the National Hurricane Center officially forecasts this becoming a Category 5. So quite an incredible storm here with Humberto, but again, I'll get to that in a moment. Tropical Depression 9, though, the main topic of this morning, and as of the 11 a.m. advisory, the National Hurricane Center officially has decided to pull the trigger on this forming. Maximum sustained winds at 35 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure 1,005 millibars, located at 22.0 north and 76.2 west, moving northwest at 6 miles per hour. This is going to move very slowly over the Bahamas and then potentially bring impacts to portions of the Florida coast, as I'm going to show you in a little bit, as there are tropical storm watches in effect, and of course there are also tropical storm warnings in effect for large swaths of the Bahamas as well, as this will be moving over the Bahamas, likely strengthening into a tropical storm later today. But here's a satellite shot to show you how Tropical Depression 9 is developing this morning, and you can see definitely looks a lot more like a tropical system today. There's quite a decent bit of low-level turning, as you can see by all these low-level clouds here. So there is a low-level center, and in fact, Recon has confirmed it with the latest Recon mission, which is inside the storm right now. They did confirm a pressure of 1,007 millibars, but I assume that the dropson probably found 1,005, so that's what the National Hurricane Center went with. But Recon has been in there this morning, and they did find a closed low-level center. So because of that, this officially made Tropical Depression 9 it made it official that the National Hurricane Center decided to designate PTC 9 as Tropical Depression 9. And once again, we're going to see strengthening from this throughout the day today. Going to probably strengthen into a tropical storm later today, obviously being Imelda, since that is the next name on the list. And then eventually going to strengthen steadily throughout the rest of the weekend and probably become a hurricane early next week, just off the South Carolina coastline, or in general along the southeast coastline, or just offshore. But as I said before, you can see here now that this might get close enough that we will see impacts potentially to the Florida coastline. And in fact, let me show you where the advisories are currently in effect for. Tropical Storm Watch is in effect for the east coast of Florida from the Palm Beach-Martin County line to the Flagler and Volusia County line. So if you are in any of those areas, keep in mind that there might be tropical storm impacts for you along the coast of Florida. And then I'm pretty sure eventually, bearing in mind that the track will probably change. Again, there's still a lot of uncertainty, but I will note that you now see here on the 4 and 5 day forecast from the National Hurricane Center, them beginning to show a bend towards the east instead of before, especially 2 or so days ago when all of the models had this taking a nosedive straight into the coast of South Carolina and North Carolina. So looks like the National Hurricane Center is now coming on board with what the rest of the models are showing, and that this might indeed be something that slows down as it gets closer to the coast and then eventually begins to stall, but then turn towards the east, thanks to the influence of very, very strong Hurricane Humberto. And in fact, let's go over it right now very briefly. And boy, does Humberto look quite impressive this morning. A nice, very well-rounded CDO, and you can even see a bunch of the gravity waves that are happening with the storm right now, and that's usually a very, very good sign that this is intensifying quite a bit, and the CDO just keeps on expanding, and it's becoming more circular. So all signs that this is continuing to intensify, and man, just look at that very well-rounded eye. It's definitely an intensifying storm. Moderate Category 4 hurricane, 145 miles per hour is the intensity on this storm right now. And I would not be surprised if this intensifies further. And let's actually see what the current forecast as of the 11 a.m. advisory shows. Looks like they actually only strengthen this to 155 miles per hour, but they actually keep it at that for the next 36 hours. So I would say that there's still like maybe a decent chance, or somewhat small chance, that Humberto still strengthens into a Category 5 hurricane. And it would not shock me in the very least if it does so. But beyond that, it's going to probably remain a major hurricane for the next several days. And then eventually, as we get towards the end of the weekend and we get into Sunday and Monday, this will begin to weaken, and then eventually take a turn off here to the north and then to the northeast as it weakens. Bermuda, we'll have to watch, though. As I've said this before, Bermuda is still kind of right in the cone of uncertainty here, so we still might see some track shifts that maybe this ends up getting closer to Bermuda. And even if we don't get a direct landfall, you bet that we'll probably get impacts, at least outer rain bands and, outer impacts from the wind field here in Bermuda. That would not shock me at all. So I would not let your guard off just yet. But in terms of impacts to the East Coast, Humberto is not the storm to be concerned about. And looking at the models today for Tropical Depression 9, still says potential Tropical Cyclone 9 on the model track guidance. But this is probably going to update in about an hour. So has it already updated yet? No, it has not. But probably this afternoon, this will be updated to Tropical Depression 9, and that'll be that. But even here, with potential impacts to the southeast, and I'm talking about direct impacts because I'll show you the GFS in a little bit. All the models, including the GFS, actually are more in agreement today compared to yesterday, even yesterday, that this might potentially take a turn off to the east here instead of coming into the southeast coast. The only two models that still show potential track towards the southeast right now is the HMON, and I think this is the Euro AI model, and that's a little interesting because I just checked the Euro AI, and they show pretty much the same exact track as everybody else, and that is this going out to sea. Although the AI does a little bit something interesting where it ends up hooking back beyond 6 or 7 days towards the East Coast. And I'm not really going to go into detail about that because that is, pretty wacky. But in general, I always like to look at what model consensus shows, what majority of the models do. And as of the 12Z run for today, September 27th, they are now all starting to come into agreement of a turn away from the East Coast instead of a direct impact to the East Coast. So looks like we have a saving grace for those, especially along the South Carolina coast. And I'm just going to go over all of the models this morning to show you exactly what's going to happen here. And going over the GFS, you see here over the next several days, strengthens over the Bahamas. But then eventually, as we get towards early next week and we get to Monday and Tuesday, it begins to slow down here significantly, just off the southeast coast, and directly right off the northern Florida coast, and then eventually here as we head into the middle to latter portion of next week. It feels the influence from Humberto to the northeast here, and that allows for a weakness that eventually pushes the storm on off to sea, and well away from the east coast. And just going to go through all of the models here. The GFS, the Euro, also showing the same thing, although the Euro kind of then just leaves us hanging right off the southeast coast instead of turning it well out to sea. But the general idea of this stalling off the east coast and then turning away and kind of remaining off the east coast in general, similar idea on the GFS and the Euro. And once again, the AI model, at least as of the 6Z run, let's see what they show for the 12Z, but the 6Z run here, also doing the same thing, except in the longer range, where this very interestingly hooks back towards the coast. And maybe that might be something else that the models will begin to latch on to. Maybe in the shorter term, we might see this, slow down and then hook away from the east coast thanks to Humberto, but maybe it does not move out to sea quick enough that eventually it ends up getting left back, and does what the Euro does here, and that around 6-7 days from now, instead of fully going out to sea, it begins to hook back and once again head towards the coast. All possibilities that we're going to have to watch here over the next several days, but it is interesting to see pretty much most of the major models right now beginning to agree on the same solution. Strengthens here and moves over the Bahamas, but then as it gets closer to the southeast coast, it slows down and then nudges towards the east, away from the coastline, which is obviously a very good thing. But as I'll show you with precipitation, it's still going to be a very significant thing, especially right along the southeast coast here. And let me show you what the GFS shows. Pretty much all of the major models show it, but even as this will remain off the southeast coast, the right along the Carolinas coastline, even in general for honestly the entire southeast coast, there will be heavy rainfall, and I went over that yesterday, but it still was within mind the fact that there's potential for this. There was potential for this to make landfall and then stall as it was on land. Whereas again today, the more likely scenario seems like it's going to slow down just off the southeast coast. That still does not prevent heavy rainfall from occurring along the coastline. I guess it's going to affect less portions just inland of the coastline, but we're still going to have the heavy rainfall and in pretty large numbers too. For most of the inland areas, as much as 2 to 3 inches, at least indicated on the GFS, and then it becomes much heavier right along the coast. And I say that because I always want to emphasize that rainfall is a huge impact. It's very much an underrated impact that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and we've already had our fair share of pretty impactful heavy rain events this year, not even tropical cyclone related. Well, some of them, yes, but others, no. But bottom line, what I'm just trying to tell you is heavy rainfall is very impactful. And once again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it is the number one killer when it comes to tropical cyclones. So please keep in mind of the heavy rainfall potential, which is still a big threat for portions of the southeast. But maybe instead of for the entirety of the coastal and inland portions of the Carolinas and the southeast, it is looking more and more likely that as this will remain off the coast, the rainfall threat will probably be mainly something only for right along the coast. So less people will feel the impacts, the worst impacts, which is obviously a very good thing. But do not keep it off the table that things could still change. This might tomorrow or even later today somehow randomly shift back towards the coastline, and you never know. Tomorrow, this time tomorrow, we might be sitting here and talking about this potentially making landfall again. It's that time of the year where things change very quickly. And we saw it yesterday with the models changing within one run, from showing a landfall, all of the models agreeing on showing a landfall, to now pretty much all of them showing this staying off the coastline. So a lot can change, and we're definitely going to continue to monitor things very, very closely over the next several days. And as I've said before, I will be doing multiple updates. So this update here is one of two updates. The second one probably going to come this evening around 8 or 9 o'clock, or maybe 7 o'clock. We'll see. But, I do have some things to do throughout the day today. But definitely expect another update tonight. And of course, also expect updates throughout the day on Twitter as well, at Danilo Evangelista. Follow me there. And also subscribe to me on YouTube here if you haven't already done so. Like this video and comment your thoughts, and also share with others as well. But with that being said, I'm going to end it off for this morning's update. Make sure to enjoy the rest of your day. Watch the tropics. And I will talk to you again later tonight.